morning. It feels like grass. It's quite nice. Should take our shoes off. Good. I was going to say come in and take a seat, Laura, and if anyone else, there's some seats over here. Thank you for having me. And I was thinking this morning, because I'm not usually up at this hour, that I didn't really do my morning routine of moving and stuff. So I thought maybe, please don't hate me if you're really into your cup of coffee or tea, but if you want to join me in standing up, and maybe Khan and Jade will come and join me on the grass. Put your coffees down. Bear with. I'll have to start that in a second. I'm not a yoga teacher, so I'm not going to do this super proper, but one big deep breath. Feels weird with a mic. And stretch. And move your wrists. And bend your knees a little bit. And then get ready to shake. Hopefully it works. And wrists. It's on my mic. Woo.
Should test yourself.
Yay! I would listen to this when I was walking to work if I have a really late night, or I'm tired, or I'm pissed off at somebody, or really stressed out and worried. I just gotta shake it up. Hands up in the back. Don't go to sleep. Thank you. Woo! And smooth fade out. Smooth fade out. Thanks, guys. Woo! Thanks. Don't we all feel $1 million now?
Yes.
And I'm still a little bit shaky, still a bit nervous, so that's okay. I did one of those things where a few days before, you chop everything in half. So I'm starting with breathy. See, it's been a while since dancing, obviously. So I used to have my own shop, which is a weird sentence, but I've been using it a lot lately, being down Wellington and down country, saying I used to have my shop. I used to have a sewing lounge, which was weird because it was something that I'd always worked so hard for and always kind of spent many years envisioning this thing and spending lots of money and time and energy and focus to get there. And so it's kind of strange thinking that I say that. I used to have a shop, so it's on K Road. It's a sewing lounge, and if any of you hadn't been there or had visited a sewing lounge before, I say it's kind of like an internet cafe but with sewing machines. So you can drop in and use them per half hour to mend your gear or make something new or have it go on a sewing machine for the first time. And we did workshops there, and we sold lots of fabrics and did alterations and had socials. It's my lovely fabric obsession. And it's funny how bricks and mortar kind of make it feel really real, and it makes it feel real for parents, you know. They're like, oh, she's doing it. All of that stuff she's been hoarding in the garage for so long. Like, it's going to the shop. They're like, I'm going to have a shop one day, Dad. As I'm like bringing carloads of stuff back home from the dump. But it was my shop that I could decorate with dump shop treasures, and people could come in and sew and learn. And I had like a little hardcover sales book and a pencil that I always kept shut. And they're like, you should get an iPad. I'm like, no, I've been dreaming of this for so long. Like writing a sales in like that. And I had this little sandwich board that I put out in the street, and we had neighbours that were there every day. Like I was there every day. It became my family and customers. And I can look around here and see people that I met through the shop that I know are going to be my friends for life. I hope so. What I really also loved was it was a place that I had windows obviously, and I could write big ass signs. Signs like, oh there we go, there's some sewing. Whoop. Signs like #mend and make do, come in and repair your gear, because there's over 100 million textiles go into landfill in New Zealand every single year. That's from the Ministry of Environment, so credited source. Also, still hashtagging this one, #say no thanks to plastic bags. Because did you know that actually 8% of the world's oil is used to produce plastic bags, which is just like something that lasts for like all of 10 seconds from the shop to your car, and then you've got like how many in your hands. And also soon by 2050 there's going to be more plastic in our oceans than fish. So I really liked my windows for that reason. Also, and I didn't ask Gina if this was okay. Seeing people come in into the shop from all walks of life to come in, make their own tote bag and rock it at the supermarket and find some clothes in their wardrobe to remake. It was really exciting, and it was kind of like, it was the reason and the purpose that got me there every single day and keeping on going. And they were learning this thing called sewing, and they didn't need to buy from Kmart anymore. They also came in and also drank tea and ironic kombucha, which is when you have kombucha with cake from Alleluia. And we kind of sat down quite a lot and talked about life and love and doing what you love. And people asked me questions of, how did this happen, and how do I do this? And it was kind of a weird moment for me, because I was still trying to work out whether I actually loved doing what I loved, and essentially always mainly for the love of it, because I hadn't worked out how to pay myself yet. So turning what I loved into a full-time thing meant that I didn't really love it the same anymore. 80 to 90% of my time was spent doing marketing and accounts and strategic planning and brainstorming, and when I'd finish the shop at 6, I'd probably teach a class till 8, and then hustle off to a networking event every night, and then after that you'd probably go home and chill out or go for dinner, and I would go home and sit up in bed and do more stuff, and my flatmates can vouch for that. I just kept doing what I had to do, and essentially to turn your love into a livelihood you have to want to do maths, and you have to want to be a business person to some degree. It doesn't just kind of to be entrepreneurial or self-employed. For sure, pursuing your love into a career where you're part of a team and stuff is different, but I guess I'm coming from the perspective of going out on your own. But essentially I didn't really sew for fun anymore, and I didn't sew for myself. I hadn't quite worked out how to pay myself either, but I was still really crazy enthused about the core of it, which was reducing textiles and all of the other stuff in landfill, cleaning up our oceans and our rivers and the atmosphere, all of the things, and not just all of it, clean it all up. And I guess this is the love that goes into Sew Love, or Sew Love, and learn to sew, love the earth. Feel free, snap. Here we go. So loving the earth, what does this mean? And I know that a lot of us here probably do a lot of these things already, but maybe there's one or two things that might spark another interest. And the first thing which I left off, which is really important, is learning how to drink. And we're all doing it pretty well today, so I applaud you. Learning how to drink from a cup without a plastic straw. It is totally possible. Our mouths are like totally made for that. I won't do that. Some other things, take public transport, conference calls for meetings instead of driving across town or flying. Read your labels, whether you're in Trade Aid and you're curious who made it, but also in Glassons. Work out what it's made of and where it was made. Shop local at markets and small indie businesses. I found this really important when I had my little shop. I was just like, literally, when you come in and buy something from me for your Christmas stockings, it makes such a huge difference to me and my Christmas. And get a bike. Yeah. Pink Path, you Aucklanders are lucky. Repair things and DIY things instead of throwing them out or adding to that 100 million kilos in landfill. Shop second hand, my favourite. Use a tote bag, yeah, that's probably my favourite. Moon cups. Don't even know that I'm wearing one right now. Woo! Does anyone know what they are? Girls, totally get involved. They're amazing. Google it. I won't show you mine. Ask about packaging. Like a yogurt, for example, I get the yogurt that comes in a glass jar just because I know that I can reuse that jar instead of the plastic container. I can make lots of things. I could do candles in it or put decorations on it so I can put my oats in it and look Pinteresty. Holiday locally instead of flying overseas, which is timely, this kind of weather. Research your brands is another one. Did you know Most Organics has been popping up everywhere in cafes. I'm like, oh, who's this new trendy Most Organics? And they're owned by Coca-Cola, which is interesting. And they're big investors in climate change and fossil fuels and probably Donald Trump. So whereas Phoenix Organics is New Zealand owned and they invest in sustainable coastlines and planting thousands of trees around our waterways in New Zealand throughout the winter. So that's where we can vote with our dollars. And these last two, farmers markets and eat less meat. You've probably heard those two before. Shop local at farmers markets. Yes, for sure, totally. But what I've been noticing is that in the world today, around me, everyone is talking about food. And everyone's going crazy over it. It's driving me a little bit insane. Clean eating, organic, I keep saying vegan, but I mean raw, vegan, green, activated, which is soaked overnight. And this is great. I couldn't agree more. All of these things are awesome and really good for our health and really good for the health of our planet as it reduces emissions. But I'm going to be the advocate for the other thing that we come in touch with every day on the daily, and that's our clothing. Why is it that when it comes to choosing our clothing choices, that it generally kind of comes down to what's on trend and price? How often do we actually consider, where did this thing come from? How far has it flown to get to my wardrobe? And who made it? Who sewed it? Who grew the cotton? How much pesticides did they spray? How much pesticides did they inhale? What about the pollution of the rivers around the mills and dyeing and the sanding process on your jeans? How often do we... Oh, I did miss my amazing Instagrammable slide. Damn it. I'm real. There we go. That's the food slide. All credit to me, so I'm not saying that I don't do it. And I made this. This is my pride and raw vegan. How often do we ask who made my clothes? And the fashion industry, crazily, is one of the world's biggest pollutants. It's second only to that of oil. From farming crops covered in pesticides, the fashion industry, or cotton, uses 25% of the world's pesticides. Milling, weaving, dyeing, wrapping up in plastic, and then shipping off to you here so you can get a 2-for-1 $10 bargain and feel real stoked with your score. And it's crazy how as clothes have gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and we've demanded that since the 80s, these big fashion brands are just getting richer and richer, and their annual turnovers are billions and billions of dollars. And it's all at the expense of the environment and developing nations who are manufacturing these things for us. And I don't want to stand up here and be like, oh, it's all overwhelming and there's nothing we can do and we might as well just kind of go into a mental breakdown or just kind of put our blinkers on and say, there's nothing I can do, sorry. But there is. We can feel totally empowered with every choice, every kind of time we vote for our dollar. And I hope that we can get excited about alternatives, just like we get excited about nut milks and kale chips. Like, let's get excited the fact that you can grab your mum's dress that she wore in the 80s and you can kind of hem it up and cinch it in and throw something else on it, and you can wear it to a ball this year. And get excited about learning about the weavers and the artisans who have made this thing, and supporting the education and opportunities for those girls in a developing nation. I get really excited about people learning to repair and mend things, just having a few simple skills. I'm not saying you have to sew a whole outfit, but a few mending skills can be a complete lifesaver, not just for you when you're about to walk down the aisle and your buttons pop if you're a guy. Maybe you're a girl wearing a shirt too. Well, you're also a lifesaver for that garment, and you're a lifesaver for that girl who's locked in a factory day and night, churning out thousands and thousands of jeans with just the knees cut out of them because everyone's wanting them right now, and cheaper than the other ones. So or the other guys. So, or if you're like me, get really excited about op shops and buying secondhand. I kind of mapped out all of the op shops that I've been to lately, the last few months this year. And I just thought I'd bring up my kind of top 5 awesome source bits of op shopping. It is zero waste. Everything that you find in op shop already exists on this planet. You're not adding to more production. Good quality New Zealand made. I find so many amazing wool coats and good quality things that are actually going to last you for a lifetime. Like I call them a life jacket. Rare gems and treasures. So you're not going to be like one of 100 on a rack in the mall stores. What are they called? Mall stores? Where there's like 50 of a thing, and you can find something that's really special and unique and celebrates your personality. Or you can I always think about when I can see that someone's handmade it, and I think of like my mum when she was 20 and sewing all the things herself. And just it's such a nice process and an honour to be able to wear something like that. Low carbon miles, which is key. You go and donate it locally usually, and then you go and shop locally. So whether you're driving or biking, it's still pretty low carbon. And also voting with your dollar. With all of the amazing op shops that I've been to around the countryside, it's been amazing seeing what actually your dollar goes towards. There's one in Wanganui that's a bird rescue store. There's Paws, which help lots of different animals, puppies. Everyone loves puppies. And in Te Puke, I visited one, was it a church op shop? I don't think it was a Red Cross. They give a scholarship to a kid every year to go to university because a lot of the Te Puke students wouldn't go to uni. So it's amazing how when women would come in there and say, it's so expensive here, I'm just like, yeah, but you're contributing to so much. Like, it's so much cheaper than any other option. There's so many great things about it. Why would you not, essentially? So segue back after a while of living that dream in my little shop, I was wanting to do more about promoting all of these things. Teach sewing to more people, spread the word further about using tote bags and drinking without straws and all those amazing possibilities. And we did some really great pop-ups outside of the shop, like a container on the waterfront, getting these kids making tote bags, which was really great with the New Zealand Maritime Museum. And this is Slaw Festival, which was amazing, sewing by the sea. And it was nearly summer this time, and St Kevin's Arcade had been sold, and everything was getting a makeover from Rubicon, and my shop was going to be a cheese shop, apparently, or a wine shop. So everyone was going to the beach for summer. I wanted to be at the beach for summer, so I wanted to take sewing to the beach. So meet Diesel D. And I've got in brackets here, picture of Cecil naked. Because if you've seen Cecil, which you'll see in the next slide, it was frightening looking at that picture of her friends. They look naked. She looked naked. So she's 31 from Otorohanga, bunk beds in a fridge, and she's all about the base and the column change, which has been really fun. And thanks to an amazing 204 Pledge Me supporters, I was able to buy her, zhuzh her up, and change her into an op shop loving, tea drinking, sewing lounge on wheels. So now I can say, I used to have a sewing lounge, but now I have a sewing lounge on wheels. This is Cecil, and this was on the East Coast. It was really fun. She's pretty brave. She's a girl boss with all her electronics on solar power, which is really fun. And lucky me, my commute from breakfast to work got a whole lot shorter. It was excellent. Cecil and I have been travelling around the North Island since the start of January, down the East Coast, up the middle, and down across to Raglan and down the West Coast. And the mission was to, at every stop, provide an opportunity for people to have a go on a sewing machine, mending their stuff instead of throwing it out, having a go, and also inspiring people to shop secondhand and vintage, handmade and ethical clothing. And also Sitka gave us a really huge, awesome pledge. And so when I go to surfing spots like Papamoa or Raglan, I become a Sitka seamstress. And if you have any Sitka gear that is looking worse for wear, this little bit here that got ripped, you can fix it up for free. So we're doing that for them all around the countryside. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, like that. Just to feel really human, I put in a blank slide intentionally. So, boom, where are we? Oh, yes. Of course, what I didn't realise after hitting the road and after all the summer festivals of early January kind of died down, there were roadblocks and realities that were soon to pop up, of course. The amount of local council reception areas where I could be found late January, February, probably right through, bawling my eyes out on the floor because they simply just did not know what to do with me. And it's funny because people are always telling us to push the boundaries, be innovative, think outside the box. And then you do that and they're like, sorry, it's just a bit too far-fetched. I'm not sure which form you're supposed to fill out. Sorry, on the phone or in person, goodbye. And just left me completely defeated. And something that I just assumed would go quite easily didn't. And that was really important for popping up everywhere we wanted to around the country. And props to Auckland Council because they have placemakers and space activation teams, and I've got to try and tap into that in other councils for sure. So it was, the tour kind of turned into documenting New Zealand's beautiful, did I flick that already? Ah, there we go. Shivery fingers. I'll put that down. The tour soon turned into mainly documenting beautiful op shops around the countryside and filming and dancing and interviewing volunteers and local makers that were focused on reusing and sustainability. And on the weekends, I timed my weekends with cities that had markets so I could try and make $1. And I then decided to get in touch with private businesses and op shops to collaborate with to park up alongside to ensure that we did get some sewing happening and, of course, try and make another $1. It's quite dark, isn't it? Can you see that? There's Cecil, and it was the Wonga op shop. Despite all of this, every town was a different town and a different set of community kind of cultural and community values, and I had to learn it every time really rapidly, quite fast, and to not just charge in, do my thing and charge out. I wanted to be collaborate and respect and learn from every town and these amazing people that I got to meet. So it was tough to be learning it all for the first time, every time. And you wouldn't know it, but I spent most of my time so nervous that I wouldn't let down the 204 people that had pledged to support me. And being your own boss, which people would see as a #girlboss all the time, felt like I had 204 bosses breathing down my neck. And they weren't. They're all lovely, but in my head they were. And I just had to keep delivering. And I tried to stay smiling and dancing and Instagrammably perky, as you do. Here's Miles and I in Wanganui. Wanganui's got 15 op shops. It's incredible. You just have to try and keep being your best self. And interesting, although I felt like the second half of the tour in some respects a few weeks ago I should have been the hardest part, but thanks to being asked to reflect on love and doing what you love, I think of this time as actually where all the magic happened. Why? Because nothing had gone to plan so far, and I was completely exhausted and heartbroken and depressed, and it was hard to feel all of these things by myself, free camping and working all the time by myself and Cecil. And my friends were amazing on the other ends of the phone, helping me through it and reminding me that I wasn't allowed to quit. And I reminded myself that I wasn't allowed to quit. So just like I step up onto this grass here, you just have to do some shake it offs, some power poses, and take a big, deep, shaky breath and have the courage to step out again like you know that you've always done to get to this point. Even when you've got zero confidence, you just have to try and do it. for the love of your friends and the supporters, and for the love of the cause and why you're doing it, like the deepest love of, I still wanted to reduce pollution and poison in all of our rivers and oceans and atmosphere and all of the things. And I watched the True Cost documentary about 5 times throughout this trip. You can note that down, the True Cost, please watch it. It's on Netflix, there's no excuse not to. It's an amazing documentary about the true cost of fast fashion, and it just gave me this extra boot up the butt that I needed every time to kind of remind me why I was there and why I was doing it, and why I'd worked so freaking hard to get into that position. And so from all of that and that kind of self-coaching and things came some really exciting things down the West Coast, where new friends and connections opened up their homes and their wine bottles and their couch surfing, driveway surfing situations for me to go and stay in. This is the lovely Larson family who had me to stay, and it was so great meeting these makers and meeting their families and just being in suburbia again instead of free camping car parks and central cities. And this kind of felt like what the tour was all about as we went down the West Coast. Locals were rallying friends, new and old, together, and they were crafting, that's also kind of dying, crafting and sharing stories and resources and shared lunches, scones and cakes, oh my gosh, for the love of community and their neighbours and sustainability and craft. And this was like this amazing moment of being like, oh, this is why I did it, this is it, it's happening. Even though all of these things hadn't worked before, you've got to keep learning and yeah, I'm jumping, I'm excited, cracky. And also in some of these moments, I re-met this person called Sarah. Sarah, who loved to sew. Who would have thought? She also loved to bake, and she really sucked at that, but she learned and tried, is still trying, successfully made scones this week. I remember how much she loved the sea and how much the sea was important to her. So I took her for swims and for a surf whenever she needed reminding of the bigger picture. And I also took her dancing in op shops, because dancing was when she felt her most to herself and happy. So whenever I could see that she's feeling super down and out, I'd take her dancing in op shops, which was fun. So slowly but surely, Sarah So Love is trying to make room for Sarah to do some things that she loves and to be involved in this life path. Because the reality was that while I was living this life doing what I loved, for the sake of loving our earth, which I do wholeheartedly love, usually just for the love of it, not any hourly wage at all, I'd kind of forgotten what it was to just do something that you love. So please cherish the loves of your life, but don't lose yourself in your process. And I know that sounds like an amazing dating and relationship self-help book, which I read a lot about lately. But it's true. In all seriousness, what I've learned on this journey, we have to take some time to get informed and get inspired about finding what feels good and work out how and where that fits into your life. So hobbies and extracurricular activities are amazing. I would love to have time and dollars for some like evening classes, doing something that's just crazy and new and exciting and something that you just love. And enjoy feeling the sense of empowerment with these decisions that you make, whether it is eating your breakfast or whether it's putting your clothes on every day. Feel excited about those decisions and what goes on behind it and what you can contribute with your heart for yourself and others around you and the grass. And I'm super, I haven't gone over time, but I'm super pleased I haven't got through 20 minutes without, talking about love and consciousness without saying this word. But it all kind of comes down to mindfulness and being more mindful about the things that we do. And not just because someone hashtags it and says that we should, but because we want to and we're curious and we're excited about all of those things behind the thing and excited about the love that it brings to yourself and to others around you, locally here in your community, but also globally, and knowing who you're supporting and also supporting what we're walking on. And if I could have bare feet on this grass right now, I'd like do a Michael Jackson move. So, hashtag all my love, Vera. Thanks. Oh. Thank you.